Have you ever gotten to a point in your life where you just felt like you were failing, and you just felt like you just could not get ahead, because I did. And when I asked God for clarity and guidance, the first thing He told me to do was that I needed to learn to surrender. That was one of the biggest things that was keeping me in survival mode. And when He said surrender, my next question was immediately like, how do I surrender? I don't quite know how to let go, because I've been carrying so much for so many years. I didn't know how to release it. And one of the first things that God has taught me to do, which He's actually been telling me three things to do, and in doing this, I definitely am starting to see a change in the weight that I feel like I'm carrying. The first thing He told me to do was in surrendering was that I needed to give Him my mornings. I needed to make sure His words were the first thing that I see in the morning, and really be intentional with reading His word in order to get my mind off problems, because I had the bad habit of I would sit, I would pray, and then as soon as I'm done praying, my mind automatically goes and starts worrying, starts trying to figure things out instead of just letting it go. And so the first thing that God taught me was that I needed to start my mornings with Him. I needed to give Him my mornings. And that's been what I've been doing, and I'm learning that it really has been helping me to just calm my mind, and just to kind of start my day in a different energy. And let me tell you though, in working on and giving God my mornings, I really feel like the devil really was starting to work harder, because it seems like then I'm gonna go to work, it'll be a crazy day at work, I would get a phone call, and then it would just be like, really, what is happening here? And I really feel like that must be the devil working hard, because he knows the benefit of starting your morning with God. So in that, it's like, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep continuing and being more consistent with giving God my mornings. The second thing He told me to do was really be intentional with finding gratitude in everything, in every area of my life. Even if I felt like I'm failing in these areas, find a piece of gratitude in that. An example would be like with my health. I'm working on getting my health in order and getting my weight together and increasing my energy. And so in the past, I would dwell on like, how did I let myself get like this? Like, this is just not good. And instead, it's like, you know what? I need to be grateful for the fact that I can still move. I can still get up and walk. I'm still breathing. I need to be grateful for the fact that I have the choice to be able to choose healthier food options. He's given me an income to where I can choose the foods that I want to eat. And then I just need to be grateful for that I can change. I can do all things with Him by my side. And that is something that I had to continuously work on, is just being intentional with finding gratitude throughout the day. And the last thing that He was telling me to do is that I needed to learn to check my attitude at the door, because I know my emotions can be all over the place, and it can dictate how productive I am. It can dictate how I respond to people, and He is like, you need to check your attitude at the door, because that energy doesn't allow for clarity. It allows for more frustration. It allows for more chaos. And in doing that, so I've been like, when I start to feel a little anxious, I'm like, what is this trigger? What is causing this? And I need to give it to God, because He wants me to check my attitude at the door. So before I respond to anybody, before I choose to not do anything, even though I had set a plan to work out, or I had set a plan to meal prep, or I had set a plan to, get my budget in order, before I get an attitude with anyone, or before I even get an attitude with myself, I need to give it to God. I need to write it down, check it at the door, and just say, you know what? This is not me. This is not me. This is not how I want to continue my life. And learn to just surrender that, my attitude, learn to find gratitude, and just learn to just continue to consistently give God my mornings. And in doing that, I will say that it has definitely helped. Like I said, it's been some days the devil be coming at me, and I be ready to just go at it. But I'm learning that I need to let that battle be God, and not everything needs a reaction from me, and that is where I'm learning to surrender. It's like starting small, because when he said surrender, I'm like, how do I do this? And I realized part of the reason why it was hard for me to surrender was, for me, I think in my mind, I was subconsciously kind of putting God in like a human form, in the sense of, humans can fail you. You know what I mean? Not really looking at it like this is God. He's a man of his word. He's gonna do what he say. But I think because it was in survival mode, I'm almost putting God in like that human form of, yeah, you said this, but I still need to figure this out, just in case you don't come through. And that is not how I should be looking at God, because he can do anything. He can change things at an instant, and I think that was part of what was going on with me, is that I was really putting God in like a human form of disappointments. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you feel disappointed from people, or you feel like you put your trust in someone and then it didn't go through, and so then you feel like you can't do it. And that is something that I'm learning with giving God my morning, is that I'm reminding myself that he can be trusted with anything and everything. Don't put him in this human mindset. Get into his mind, get to know his character, and understand that he is consistent all the time. He is going to make a way when I don't see a way. So I don't need to stress about how something is going to come about. My focus is just to continue the plan that he's given me. My focus is to just continue the small steps, walking every morning, sticking to a budget, making sure I meal prep, sticking to small things, and then when I asked him questions about relationship, the biggest thing he told me to mostly focus on was focusing on me. Don't worry about somebody else changing. You focus on you, because as I change, then what I accept in my environment changes. So those were the biggest things that he's teaching me, that I'm to learn to surrender in. And it really has been changing how I see situations. So I hope this video helped. Especially if you're like me sometimes, where you have a hard time surrendering, you have a hard time letting go, because you just feel like if you let go, things will fall apart. But I'm learning that if things fall apart, then it was meant to fall apart. Things are going to get rebuilt. Sometimes you have to have destruction before things get rebuilt. When someone wants to renovate anything, you got to bust out some walls, bust out this, and before you create a new foundation. So that is what I've been learning, as far as what God has been teaching me about how to surrender. And I hope this video helps you. If it resonated with you, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And just remember to continue on your journey. You got this. And I thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.